Welcome to the Zalaris Half 1 2023 panel discussion for the SuccessFactors release. We call this Updates That Matter, and my name is Mike Ellis, the Global Vice President of Professional Services for Zalaris. Joining me today is a panel of SuccessFactors experts from around the globe that I am pleased to be able to bring together today for this discussion. So please welcome to the panel, firstly, Andra Stoica, a recruiting and onboarding senior consultant from Norway. I hope I got that right, Andra. Claire Badger, a compensation, variable, succession and performance expert who also runs our Asia Pac practice. Liam Clark, an EC and recruiting specialist from our UK practice. And last but not least, Tomasz Gondek, a learning and onboarding expert from Poland. G'day everyone and welcome to the panel. So, firstly, there's a lot to get excited about in this feature-packed release. But first, let's start with something that will actually affect, I believe, every single customer on the solution, the new Horizon theme. Liam, given your EC background, can you take us through your perspective on this change?
Thanks, mate. Yeah, so the Horizon theme will actually extend across the majority of the pages in the system, but probably where people will see it more is the home page, the org chart, and people profile. They're the more used pages than others. And the changes actually extend into the mobile apps as well, so it's going to be consistent among devices that users are working with. So there's some minor changes to the visual appearance in the cards, the buttons, and other elements, which will have rounded corners and drop shadows, as well as titles and other wording within the pages, taking on a new color palette and font sizes as well to make them stand out a bit more and add some structure to the pages. The icons as well, they've also been updated and they pretty much have the same design, but are maybe a bit more bolder and more contrasting, but some icons may have changed design as well, so they might be a little bit different to what's expected. I think what potentially has a bit more impact is that in some places within the system the confirmation buttons have changed to what they consider a more logical order. So for example, in the workflow approval pages, you'll find that the approve button is more on the right hand side at the end rather than being the first button on the left. So that's kind of worth checking out in case could potentially catch some people out as they interact with the system compared to what they're used to. I think generally, all of the changes that are coming with the theme could affect any training materials that you have in place, so it's probably worth checking them out and consider updating them as well. So I think, Claire, have you seen any feedback from customers on your side?
Look, I think the feedback is generally quite good. The look is far more modern, and so looking at comparative products like Workday, where they've done a lot of work around their UI and their user experience, I think this is a big step forward for SuccessFactors. However, it does mean, a few things. As Liam said, we've got to look at things like training materials. There's also some little finicky theme control issues that we see. So certain buttons that used to look black on white are now white on white. So you do have to spend a little bit of time kind of fine tuning that. But in general, it's looking pretty, and I think the users are appreciating that. Andra, there was quite a bit of impact to recruiting, I think. What did you see there?
Well, Claire, to be honest, I have also noticed some impact in recruiting too. For instance, let's start with the position org chart that differs slightly. And although this is not part of recruiting management per se, it serves as the starting point for most customers when creating a job rec. I would say that it looks like SAP has simplified the position org chart in this release quite a lot. On the other hand, the job rec dashboard has an impressive appearance with its tidy layout. The appearance probably reminds me of Excel spreadsheets. The first impression of the job rec dashboard was great. It looks more structured than before, and it seems much easier to navigate through. However, when I looked at the job requisition template, I could quickly observe a significant contrast issue. It's worth noting a bit that the job rec section background color has been altered to a light shade of gray. And this update has been actually reported as an issue by some customers, as it has disrupted a bit the clear division of the job rec into sections. These are the major things that I noticed. and I wanted to share some of them with you. However, there are many other things that look slightly different in recruiting. So, just go ahead and check some preview instances too, and don't take everything I say for granted.
Just a reminder as well that whilst you can disable the theme through an option in system settings, the changes are coming and they're going to be made mandatory from the second half release this year.
Cool, thanks Liam. Okay, so as I mentioned earlier, it's a bumper release in terms of sheer numbers of updates. I think it's something like over 400 items have been listed in this one, which is pretty big. And I think Employee Central has over 100, which, as usual, you'd expect it's the biggest module there. Claire, what have you noticed in terms of updates that matter with this release in Employee Central?
I think the main one I'll call out, so contingent workers and how they're being handled. So the trend is, as we move to a modern workforce model, contingent workforce is continually increasing. A recent statistic from the Contingent Labour Imperative states that the average company currently is reporting that contingent labour makes up about 28% of their workforce. So that's quite significant, right? We used to see them as a minority. That minority is increasing. So SAP are obviously acknowledging this. They're following that trend. And they provided a number of enhancements which aid them to strengthen their contingent workforce functionality. So a couple. First one, you can now see contingents in the absence calendar. Obviously, contingents take leave. They might not necessarily be entitled to paid leave, but they take time off. So they're showing now in the absence calendar. They also have the ability to see their own org chart, which I guess gives them that sense of belonging in the organization and seeing where they kind of fit and who their peers and so on are. And then the other one is the hire template. So as you bring a contingent into Employee Central, you can control what fields and elements are showing on the hire template. So that means you can simplify, you can really control what data you want to capture about the contingent and kind of make that as simple or maybe as complex as you might want it to be. So on the contingent workforce side of things, I think there were some similar enhancements around concurrent employment. Liam?
Yep. So similarly, if you're a business that uses concurrent employment, then you can configure hire templates for that type of employment as well. If you've used hire templates before, you'll know what they're about. It's about controlling the information that appears on the hire form, building that up to only contain the information that you need at that point in time. So with concurrent employment templates, there's required portlets of employment information, secondary employment and job information, but where this becomes quite useful is that you can restrict what the portlets are actually included on a hire wizard, and then also include custom MDF blocks as well in almost any order of input. So for example, you can use this to be able to capture any custom data from the start in the hire form rather than asking and potentially forgetting about it later on. And again, like contingent workers, these are permissioned separately, so you can add segregation of duties to roles if required. But do note that it does require centralized services for concurrent employment to be enabled as well. I think, Thomas, you had a similar update for onboarding.
Tomasz is finding the mute button.
I think he's trying to get there.
Sorry, I think I have a problem with the connection. Liam, you said something about onboarding, and we were talking about the templates. There's a huge change in onboarding, and it's one of the major enhancements available right now connected with the hire templates, which I really enjoy and really like, and I look forward for it. So there will be new sets of templates available in onboarding, which we can use to directly assign hire template to each step and decide what fields we would like to capture and use while onboarding a new person into our organization. Those hire templates are divided into two sections. So there's a new hire template available for onboardee and for managers. So there's a distinction between what fields that those participants will see. So it allows us to even further drive the data capture process in onboarding. And those templates are assigned through business rules. There are two different rules available which we can use to even further drive the process. The hire template can be used into three different sections. So the new hire data template, personal data collection, and access new hire data. Previously is a huge, at least for me, is a huge change, because previously, what we have right now, in order to make some fields visible or editable for onboardee manager or whoever is participating in the process, that process was done through permissions. So sometimes it was very painful in order to, if we let's say would like to add one thing for specific for onboardees, we would need to mess up with the permissions to enable them and enable them and validate them. Right now, this is something that we can do through the template, which will be much easier to maintain for administrators, and we can have multiple variants of those templates available. Depending on the country, depending on the position, we can use them however we like. While we're talking on onboarding, I would like to also mention the things that the enhancements which I think are really beneficial, and the ones that I think are worth mentioning, which will change the process from the admin and onboarding side. One of the biggest changes is also the possibility for admins to trigger notification, not through process, but through business rules. So as it is right now, the email notifications will be only issued when the user is in center process. Right now, through the business rules, we can issue the notification even when they added their email address. It's really up to us when we would like to send any invitation to the person which will be joining our organization. The third biggest change in onboarding, I would say, is configurable due date for new hire task completion. As it is for right now, we can set up the required date for tasks which are assigned to onboardee or to manager or whoever is participating in this process, but always the due date is a hire date. So while working with the client, I've noticed that sometimes they are unable to do certain tasks before the actual hire date, because the due date for the task is counted from the hire date. Right now, we can set up the default value 10 days before, time frame, that all the tasks will need to be done 10 days before actual hire date. So it gives us the possibility to actually do all the onboarding tasks on time. So, and of course, managers, onboardees, and participants are informed about it. So all the data, we will be able to better track who have not done the task on time, and we will have a small time frame in order to chase them down, ask them to do the task, not just check on the dashboard that that a new person will be hired tomorrow and we don't have any task completed yet. So there's right now currently there's there are situations where it is impossible for certain people to complete the task due to the fact that they basically missed their duties. And the fourth feature that is being added to onboarding, which I think it will be beneficial for all the clients, is additional data collection updates will be now visible on our onboarding dashboard. Currently, before that change, managers would only be able to see the data documents which are signed by the user, but there was no possibility for them to view the uploads that they added to the system through additional data collection. The only possible way to obtain those files was through reporting or through checking the process. But in order to check the process, you need to be an onboarding administrator. Right now, it's a simple feature, but very beneficial for all entities. If, let's say, that we're gathering some documents in additional data collection, manager can simply go to the dashboard, open the action button, and check what documents were uploaded by the onboardee.
Cool. It's great to see the investment in the onboarding solution. We all know that, you know, the importance of making sure that your onboarding experience is positive. And I think there's some stats like if you know someone's not onboarded correctly, you'll lose them within the first sort of 6 months of hiring them, sort of thing. So it's really key to do that. So look, it's probably a good segue to jump from sort of that core HR onboarding recruitment track through to talent. One of the terms that has jumped out at me throughout this release, it's a bit of a mouthful, is the Talent Intelligence Hub. Andra, is this new? What is it? How can customers use the Talent Intelligence Hub across the entire suite?
Mike, that's an excellent topic, to be honest, and it's by far my favorite in this release, and there are some reasons for this. But before jumping into Talent Intelligence Hub, I would first like to cover a bit the Job Profile Builder and Job Description Manager, because these are connected to each other. So the Job Profile Builder in SuccessFactors, as we all know, it allows customers to create and manage job profiles for their employees. Usually the job profile includes information about roles, responsibilities of the job, as well as competencies, qualifications, educations, anything that's required to perform the job effectively. On the other hand, we've got this Job Description Manager, which helps customers to create, manage, and maintain job descriptions database. And it's used, of course, to support the recruitment processes, hiring, and also talent management processes. With all this being said, I would like now to discuss about the new complementary feature of SAP SuccessFactors that I have recently become familiar with. I'm referring to the Talent Intelligence Hub, of course. This has been introduced for the first time in the second release of 2022. But we hear more about the integration with recruiting in the first half release of 2023. This offers customers a versatile tool for enhancing their recruitment process. So going forward, customers will be able to integrate SAP SuccessFactors recruiting with this new tool, and it can use competencies and skills defined in the framework. It means that customers can now add these attributes directly to the job descriptions, to the job requisitions, if they're using Job Profile Builder. And I personally believe that's pretty great, because this integration makes it easy to access all the attributes from one central location in recruiting. Also, if we heard about the opportunity marketplace, we can surface these opportunities there, because recruiting jobs now post in opportunity marketplace, and the job listings can be filtered based on attributes assigned within Job Profile Builder or Talent Intelligence Hub. As a side note, Talent Intelligence Hub, it's in its early adoption phase, and it is only available to customers who have activated Job Description Manager or Job Profile Builder. That's why I covered these two topics in the beginning. And as a personal note, something from my end, I'm going to say that Talent Intelligence Hub will be a valuable innovation that provides customers with an advantage by leveraging SAP's collection of competencies and skills. I am personally very thrilled to see the solution evolving so fast in this area, and I'm looking forward to see more enhancements in Talent Intelligence Hub in recruiting as well.
Cool. That's awesome. It really does sound like it's an evolution of the solution, but it's really going to lead to that sort of revolution across the board there. Now, you touched briefly on opportunity marketplace. Liam, I believe that's a topic that's of interest to yourself. Has that solution been evolved through this release at all?
Yeah, a little bit. So this actually links in with what SAP are calling the growth portfolio, which is part of the Talent Intelligence Hub. And it's used by employees to add attributes to their own profile, such as the skills and competencies that we've talked about, which can then be used further within Opportunity Marketplace itself. And within the marketplace, this is where you would search for different opportunities such as jobs, projects, recommended learnings, for example. How the growth portfolio interacts is that all of these items would now be assigned the same kind of attributes from the Talent Intelligence Hub, which users can then search for. And that actual search itself is improved as the filters to refine the list of opportunities will show your own assigned attributes first, making it a lot easier to and quicker to find opportunities that are relevant to your skill set.
Cool, awesome. Thanks for that. And look, sticking with talent development, Claire, this is your bread and butter. It's given your domain expertise. I'm going to put you on the spot here. Is there anything in the talent development modules that you'd be flagging to customers when reviewing this release with them?
It's not really putting me on the spot. I've probably read them all. So look, we'll go through each, right? So we'll start with performance. So with the performance review form, they've done a UI improvement, which seems quite small, but it will make the difference. When you save your performance form at the moment, it always anchors you to the top of the page. So you end up back up there, then you've got to scroll on back down. It now anchors you to where you were last editing. So small change, but it will make a huge difference to user experience. Latest goal management. I know a lot of customers are still kind of teetering on whether they do the upgrade. But it's now reached complete feature parity with the legacy goal management. So you've got your goal library, you can add milestones to goals. We've got the goal history or the audit capability, and finally legal scan, which a few customers use as well. So they are now all available in latest goal management. And so now is a great time to consider upgrading. Career development, there wasn't a lot. There wasn't a lot of stuff in there. Obviously, they're still working around, building Talent Intelligence Hub and how all of that fits into career development. The probably standout for career development is the iOS and Android support for mentoring. So users can now explore and manage their mentoring opportunities through the app, as well as approve. So if you're a manager or a mentor, you can approve mentoring requests on the phone. And then finally, from a compensation perspective, again, nothing groundbreaking, but some great stuff around auditing. So you've got the ability to turn on audit history for planners within compensation. So if you're a planner and you want to see who made a change to a particular input in the worksheet, they can look through an audit and see that, potentially a planner a couple of levels down made that change. So that's something we do get asked for, and it came from the customer community. So a good one. Routing forms for compensation, again, small, but makes a difference in terms of being able to select exactly what step your worksheets are at and then move them to a specific step. So particularly for organizations using quite large workflows, that's a great way to step your forms through, keep them at the same step that you need to, and so on. Template version control, so similar to the auditing on the worksheet, you can audit the template as well. So particularly if you're in a decentralized model where you might have compensation administrators in Germany and in Australia, and you're all dabbling in the same place, you've now got the ability to see previous versions of your template. So if something goes a little bit, oh no, you can revert back to a previous version. And then just a reminder, if no one has seen it, the executive review filters or legacy executive review filters in compensation have now got their deprecation dates. Can't remember exactly what they are, but you should be moving to the new ones now. They're way better anyway. So if you need any help in activating that, feel free to reach out. And I'd love to talk about learning too, but Tomasz, I probably need to give you something to talk about. So how about you talk about what's happening in learning?
In learning, there are not many changes. There are not many groundbreaking changes, but the good thing is that SAP is listening what the audience and users of the learning need. So they are changing things around the LMS to improve users experience and as well admin experience. So one of the major changes is enhancements of LMS course home. It is more aligned with the horizon theme, so they've moved a couple of buttons around, make them more visible, changed coloring, so it will be matching the horizon theme. One of the
round course, everything has to be round in Horizon.
Yeah, exactly. So that's the first change which we'll see once entering the LMS. For me at least, in terms of the enhancement in LMS Course Home, the biggest ones are the possibility for users to add the comments while they're requesting a course which connected with the approval process. In the past, it was not possible. So whenever a user was asking to be assigned for the course, the manager or the person who's defined in the workflow was not able to see why that person needs that course. Currently, after the change, users can type in why exactly they would like to take this course, why it will be then beneficial. So the communication can be happening right now in LMS, not outside the system, and it will be traced down. So if, let's say, in a half a year time, manager will be not sure why that person attended the course, we can report the comment section and check what was the request and what was replied from the manager side. Special requests can be modified. So in the past, before the change, if the user send a request for a special request while assigning for the course, it was set in stone. They were not able to change it. If they wanted to change it, they had to reach LMS admin, and that was only the person, the only person in the system who was capable of changing anything in a special request. Right now, users are capable of doing it themselves. There are, of course, a couple of restrictions. The first one, they cannot do it on the course date, and if the course have defined registration date, so the date that the user are still assigned themselves, but as register for the course by themselves, this will be the date that they will define. It will work as a end date for the special request modification. After that date is passed, they are not capable of changing it any longer. There's some small improvement in terms of navigation between programs and items. SAP made it more intuitive, so it will be easier for users to go back from the item to the program and program to the item. Sometimes it was quite difficult for the users. I've already checked how it works, and it's very natural, and I don't think any user should have problem navigating between those two entities. And finally, it will be, I have to mention about the LMS integration with MS Teams. This is something which is available for I think around 2 releases now. So clients can integrate LMS with Microsoft, and it was only used for scheduled courses. But the recent changes that they've been changing some of the integrations, that currently users will be able to see courses which are about to expire in the MS Teams, and managers will be able to make decision about the courses which we will be able to make decision about courses with approval process, so they can decide in Teams if they allow user to assign for a certain course or decline the request, which in the past was not possible. They could only do it through LMS interface.
Oh, look, that's cool, and obviously it's apparent that Microsoft and SAP are collaborating more and more throughout the solutions. There's been some great announcements over the last sort of 72 hours heading out of Sapphire, so I'd encourage everyone to have a look at that as well. But look, Liam, have you seen any other areas specifically with that Microsoft and SuccessFactors collaboration in this release?
Yeah, they do seem to be picking up on Teams integration a bit more now, which is quite promising. So for continuous performance, you'll now be able to actually request and give feedback within Teams itself to one or multiple people, and this will be handled via different forms within Teams, which integrate seamlessly into SuccessFactors as and when they're submitted. Additionally, another great point is that you can now actually start a Teams chat within SuccessFactors, and this can be triggered from the employee's quick card and the people profile as well. It is also available in the mobile app as well from the people profile. Obviously, these won't just work straight away. There is a bit of configuration required. So you do need to kind of do the integration pieces and the identification between the two systems, as well as a bit of work to push the SuccessFactors application out to Teams itself.
Liam, if I'm not interrupting you, I'm just curious. I know you're also a recruiting consultant too, and since we're talking about MS Teams integration, I was wondering if you heard something about MS Teams integration to recruiting interview scheduling, for instance.
Yeah, it's not quite there yet. So yeah, like I said, there was a customer integration and customer enhancement request that was submitted about 3 years ago due to the rise in home working, which customers were specifically asking for integration to Teams, to integration of Teams into interview scheduling, so they can send a dynamic Teams link to candidates and recruiters. It's a long-awaited feature by customers, and they are complaining quite a lot now because it's been a long time and it's not been released yet, but it does look like they're working on it now. So as long as they stick to their plans, it should be available on the second half release this year.
Good news.
That's awesome. So jumping from Microsoft Teams to Dynamic Teams. So I believe Dynamic Teams was first introduced in the second half of 2022 release. So the last one that's just gone through. It enables people in an organization to create and manage dynamic teams, hence the name, and define objectives and key results for the team. Look, it sounds perfect for an organization like ours with virtual teams that transcend traditional boundaries. Liam, just coming back to you, mate, I'm guessing it's still developing fast. There must be some new features in this release that could be interesting.
Right, yeah. So I think just first off, just to mention that it is now going to be generally available to customers, whereas previously it was only for early adopters. And it is actually part of the foundation subscription as well. So you don't need a separate license for Dynamic Teams, but the kind of integrations between the other modules may mean that you do require a separate license for them, such as for performance and goals. And doing this, making it more generally available, they're making it a bit more present in the system as well. So there's now a quick action on the homepage for Dynamic Teams, and they've actually changed the main navigation menu as well to specifically say Dynamic Teams rather than My Teams, I think it was. So they're making it a bit more clearer to the user. As far as the actual configuration and processes in the system for Dynamic Teams, we've had a bit more further guidance for new team members as well. And so on the welcome guide that is displayed to them when they first join a new team, now includes some tips for dealing with resources, staying aligned, building a team culture, etc. Whereas previously it was just a simple kind of welcome message, not really much information really. Additionally, when the team actually achieves a key result for their assignment that they're working on, there is a success card that appears on the homepage. That's there now, but they've now included a link directly to the information, directly to the key result to provide more information on what has been achieved within performance and goals. And I think finally, just on that topic, there is a bit more functionality provided to team owners as well, so they can now edit the roles for different members of their team, whereas previously it was only team members that could edit their own roles, which to me didn't really make much sense. I think that covers it. Have you seen anything, Claire?
I'd just add that you can link objectives that you might have through one of your dynamic teams into your performance goals. So having that clear linkage between projects or KRAs that you might be working on. and linking that to your performance goals. And then finally, it's also reportable as well. So the data from dynamic teams is now available in people stories.
Awesome. So we've covered a few areas, but around the release. But as I said, there's hundreds of changes. It would take us hours to go through them all, which I know you guys don't want to sit on a call with me for that long. But look, yeah, I think 62% of the changes are going to be automatically applied. That still leaves over 150 updates that will need a positive action from either a company HRIT administrator or a partner like Zalaris. So just a general open question to the panel. Yeah, what would you do if you were a customer right now? Before a release, during this period, between preview and production, and after the production updates itself? Happy for anyone to take that question.
I can. Definitely, I will remind about the process of the managing release. All the automatic enhancements are already available on preview instances from the 28th of April. So nearly 2-3 weeks ago, they were applied. They will be available in production on the 2nd of June. So I would make sure. So it creates a 5-week window between the preview and production. So my recommendation would be to spend the time checking those enhancements, making sure that how they are affecting the current processes, if necessary, adjusting the current processes to make sure that on the 2nd of June, there will be no disruption in system. There will not disruption in the way how the system operates and the business processes.
Yeah, and on top of what Tomasz mentioned, if I can add something also during this time, it could be very useful to take advantage of the information that's provided by SAP and partners like Zalaris, because you'll find plenty of documentation, highlights videos, release articles, webinars, and discussions like just the one we've had today. It will help find the information that is useful to you and your organization. So go ahead.
From my point of view, maybe just one more thing. I just don't think that you have to take action on every release for every module. We focus more on like the high use modules that you've got, such as Employee Central and Recruiting, and they're quite frequently used with customers. So for these, we may want to focus on every release and consider all the updates that are coming, all the updates which require some kind of enablement, as well as the major updates which are automatically on as well. But for maybe other modules where there's a more cyclical process, such as performance management and compensation, probably maybe worth reviewing these annually ahead of these new cycles rather than investing in them at that specific time of the release.
Makes sense. So I think one of the things that kind of struck out to me, third-party apps and add-ons. Now we've got the SAP store, we've got a lot of, it's becoming more commonplace amongst the ecosystem. How do we ensure that sort of the releases don't impact those solutions, or even how do we make sure that we're taking advantage of new functionality from those solutions?
I'll take that one. So first thing, don't forget them. So if you are working with any third-party add-ons, they do need to be part of your kind of testing cycle as well. Now we at Zalaris work with many third-party partners and solutions, GoOne, SpinFX, to name a few. So we involve them in our testing. So in any regression testing we're doing of SuccessFactors, we're regression testing those third-party products and looking at the impacts. But we also then are suggesting to the vendors or to the partners, where they could be leveraging further functionality in SuccessFactors to, strengthen the product they have. And then finally, robotics, right? So we're trying to embed robotics into anything that we do to be more efficient, be more effective, be more accurate. And so using tools like CodeBot, where it has a robotic testing engine, can really help you do a lot of the mundane testing, you know, candidates applying for requisitions, doing salary updates in EC, right? Things that you test over and over and over again, getting robotics to help you with those sorts of part of testing, I think can then allow you to focus on the more tricky scenarios that you need to run for your business.
That makes a lot of sense. All right, cool. So I'm just mindful of time. Thanks for joining today, guys. It's been a real pleasure to have you guys here, and obviously all of our attendees. We've gone through a lot, but just before we sign off, does anyone have any last points to add? Tomasz, I think you may be on mute, mate. If you
actually, I have one. So just a kind reminder about SSO SAM 2.0 that it will be depreciated in November. So whoever not moved to US, please do it, as SSO will not be used anymore in in November. Sorry.
And IAS opens up so many opportunities as well, right? So as soon as you activate IAS, and then you have access to report stories, internal career site builder. So it's one to get on top of no matter what.
Cool.
For me, look out for more information from me and my colleagues next week. So we are really doing the SuccessFactors release articles, which will start to be published for each of the main modules from Monday. And this will obviously include a lot more information and insight into the changes that have come in, other than what we can talk about today. So.
Yeah, I can appreciate the work that's gone into all of those articles. But all right, cool. Look, thanks for listening, everyone. Just a reminder that one of the attendees is going to be a lucky recipient of a complimentary health check. We're actually going to leverage that tool that Claire referred to, SF CodeBot. It does some pretty cool stuff like extract workbooks automatically and allows us to do a quick health check to see what's going on with your system. So that's something that we're giving away today. So we'll get in contact with the lucky winner there. And yeah, just to reiterate what Liam had mentioned, access our website for articles from next week. And if you sign up for our ebook, it collates it all into all those articles into one searchable document. So that's awesome. So thanks everyone, and we'll catch you next release.
Thanks.
Thanks everyone.
Bye, thanks.
Bye.